What is up, guys? This is Bradley Abbott with Butter, Spice, and Why Don't You Have a Slice? Welcome to the 7th episode in this brand new podcast series. Thank you so much for tuning in and turning on. Today, guys, I want to talk about cholesterol and the myths that surround this healthy nutrient. That's right, I said healthy. I'm sorry if I come across as hard on this topic, but the truth is, guys, I'm passionate. That's it. You guys need to know the real truth about cholesterol. Over the past 50 years in particular, there has been a lot of dogma surrounding this topic, and that's being polite. The only reason that cholesterol has received a bad name is simple. It was for a better use of the name, or for a better use of the phrase, however, to shorten it down, was because the pharmaceutical companies wanted to push for cholesterol lowering medical prescriptions. Imagine this. Just imagine it for a second. You are the head of a pharmaceutical company, and you know you can make a profit from this if you could only somehow make it seem like people need them, because that's the only way that people buy anything, is by creating a need, right? You must create a need for people. So what do the pharmaceutical companies do? They politically push their agenda by creating the belief that cholesterol causes heart disease and stroke. Now, I'm not blaming all pharmaceutical companies and medical doctors for this. I can't. Because some of them will go into their profession with the intent to help people. They will. And some of them do an incredible job. Without surgeons and medical doctors today, in certain areas we would not survive. So we do need to show them respect for that, especially during this pandemic. However, Ansel Keys is a different story. And this links in to the manufacturing of the cholesterol, not the cholesterol-lowering drugs, however, but the Crisco oil that was dubbed in the US, which, by the way, was used for motorized vehicle engines. Yeah, motorized vehicle engines. And this started what has now become the socialized belief that oil is good for you. Fast forwarding years later, oil has become the so-called norm in a healthy diet, and quote unquote, and cholesterol has pushed aside like it was nothing. Cholesterol has never been truthfully proven to be bad for your health. It's a myth. Your body knows how to regulate its own cholesterol levels. So let's get into the real science behind cholesterol. In an online article found on the jackcruise.com website, Why Does Heart Disease Really Occur? They talk about the Framingham, excuse my French, study, the Framingham Heart Study, that began in 1948. They followed over 5,000 people for a 50-year period. Now, I must state this study was strictly observational. This data only held up until these people reached the age of 50. However, after the age of 50, during a follow-up period, the study found no correlation between heart disease and cholesterol. None. So, how much of cholesterol does your body make? Well, on a given day, we have between 1,000 milligrams and 1,700 milligrams of cholesterol in our bodies. If you consume cholesterol, guys, your body will make less. If you don't, it will make more, but it can only make up to 75% of this. So it will regulate its own cholesterol depending how much you eat on a daily basis. Your body is that smart. Let's have a little faith in it. And this is why, guys, this is why well-designed cholesterol feeding studies show that the impact of dietary cholesterol has very little impact on blood cholesterol levels in about 75% of the population, which almost makes these studies invalid. Almost makes them invalid. In other words, eating cholesterol isn't going to give you a heart attack. So the next time you are out for breakfast, think twice before ordering the egg white omelette. Definitely think twice. Following on from this, guys, I'm going to talk about another study. And this study was found in a 2009 journal article that looked at choline as an essential nutrient for public health. Cecil and DaCosta stated that eggs, who were the scientific researchers on the project, stated that eggs and meat sources are rich in choline. Choline is an essential B vitamin that is vital for the maintenance of cell structure, the synthesis of neurotransmitters, and if you are deficient in choline, then it will increase your risk of liver disease. I will state that it is the egg yolks specifically it's the egg yolks that contain larger amounts of choline. So consume the whole egg, and if you can't stomach the whole egg, just eat the yolk. It's not difficult. In a 2007 journal article that examined the dietary requirements of choline and its role in brain development, the researchers Sanders and Cecil stated that choline is critical during fetal development, particularly during the development of the brain, where it can influence neural tube closure, lifelong memory, and learning functions. How about that? Learning functions. This just reiterates and scratches the surface of the importance of cholesterol-based foods. And on a side note, cholesterol-based foods tend to contain higher amounts of protein, which are important for immune functions and are important for metabolism of glucose. All of this stupid literature about saturated fat and cholesterol and all of the myths surrounding this is just ridiculous, guys. It's insane. It's ridiculous. And these studies have only ever been short term. In fact, long-term studies have shown that there is no association between saturated fat intake and blood cholesterol levels. There's only been one clear showing of this, and even that association was weak in that particular one study. In a 2012 journal article that was a systematic review and meta-analysis of clinical trials of the effects of low carbohydrate diets on cardiovascular risk factors, the Sanders and Estevez and others who were in this research project found that that low carbohydrate diet was associated with significant decreases in body weight, body mass index, abdominal circumference, systolic and diastolic blood pressure, plasma triglycerides, fasting plasma glucose, glycated hemoglobin, plasma insulin, and C-reactive protein. By the way, C-reactive protein is one of the main antagonists in the body for weight gain and diseases and other inflammation in the body. It's mainly a sign of inflammation. Anyway, guys, this meta-analysis showed an increase in high-density lipoprotein cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein cholesterol, and creatine did not change significantly. Didn't change. I think it's worth noting here, guys, that most people who are on a low-carb diet are eating more meat, fish, eggs, yogurt, butter, lard, and generally eating a higher amount of protein and cholesterol-based foods. Now, in a 10,000, we're not at that year yet. In a 2010 study, guys, I am reading this to you, that in a 2010 study that looked at dietary intake of saturated fatty acids and mortality from cardiovascular disease in Japan. Yamagishi, Iso, and their research team followed 58,000 men for a 14-year period and found that there was no association between saturated fat intake and heart disease, and 2, those who ate more saturated fat and had a lower risk of stroke. And remember, your central nervous system, your brain matter, your cells, your neurons need a large amount of cholesterol and fatty acids to function properly and optimally. Remember that cholesterol is so important to your body that your liver makes it. Now, in a 2004 editorial in the Journal of American College of Cardiology, Sylvan Lee Weinberg, the former president of the college, said this, and I quote, "The low-fat, high-carb diet may well have played an unintended role in the current epidemics of obesity, lipid abnormalities, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndromes. This diet can no longer be defined by appeal to the authority of prestigious medical organizations. We have let this social false whispering," that's what I'm going to call it, if it's not a phrase it should be, we have let it corrupt our way of thinking and turn these low-fat, high-carbohydrate diets have pushed saturated fat and cholesterol aside like it was nothing when we need them for our optimal health. I'm going to read a section from the 2008 revised version of the book, The Grain Brain, authored by Dr. David Perlmutter. If you don't know him, guys, I'll put it in the show notes below. He's a fantastic author. I'd recommend that book to anyone. So let's get to it. Dr. David Perlmutter in his book states, neurotransmitters are your main mood and brain regulators, and when your blood sugar increases, there's an immediate depletion of the neurotransmitters serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, GABA, and dopamine. He then goes on to state that B-complex vitamins, which are needed to make those neurotransmitters get used up. Magnesium levels also diminish, and this handicaps both your nervous system and liver. This is what happens when you up your carbs and lower your essential fatty acids and cholesterol. And this happens This doesn't happen overnight. It happens all the time, every day, chipping away a little bit at your physiological and mental health. One step at a time. Now, I'm going to end this podcast on a statement from Dr. Wallach's, one of Dr. Wallach's earlier books that was done. So in one of Dr. Wallach's earlier books, Let's Play Doctor, he states that he says identified in 1979, Alzheimer's disease appears to be due to a cholesterol deficiency. Alzheimer's cholesterol deficiency. That's what he states. And this was done in 1998, this book. And I've already read you guys modern journal articles from 2010 up to 2000 and books 2018. This research stands, guys. It stands. And has done for decades. Goes on to state that eating soft scrambled eggs every day and 72 ounces of red meat per month is important to replace cholesterol. The very foods that expert doctors, quote unquote, and food industries have had us believe are bad for us, you should never let the food in. It's just a lie. And by the way, you should never ever let the food industry tell you what to eat. Why? Because they make a huge profit from it. That's why. It's not rocket science. Now, to top of this all off, guys, a doctor who is fantastic, guys, especially like for anyone who's wanting to know more about protein metabolism, I'll look this up. But I think this is important to state because the protein that this female physician talks about obviously highly relates to the important fats in meats and eggs as well. So I'm going to give you a statement from this. This is done by Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who's based in the US. She is a female functional medical physician that deserves tremendous praise for her work in protein. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon has stated many times that animal protein is so good for you because it provides zinc, B vitamins, and higher levels of protein in addition to the healthy cholesterol, guys. So whenever you're out, whenever you're shopping, whenever you're in restaurants, just remember that eating cholesterol does not give you a heart attack. It does not cause stroke. It has more to do with the metabolism and storage of these fats, not with the fats themselves. High carb diets and cholesterol, high carb diets and high carb, low fat diets are one of the main causes of obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease. And just as a side note as well, guys, I'll probably state this in the next podcast because the next podcast is going to be about protein, which ties in nicely with the end of this one. I will say this, that Dr. Gabrielle Lyon also stated in one of her podcasts, and she's worked with many, many patients and many, many people to help them gain muscle, lose weight, and help treat them of their diseases. She has stated many times that for every gram of protein you consume, protein has this innate ability with your body to produce something called gluconeogenesis, which is basically means that it has the ability to produce carbohydrates. So for every gram of protein you make, I can't remember the number of this, but every gram of protein that you consume, high quality protein, it works with your body to produce so many grams of carbohydrates. So think about this for a moment. If you are consuming If you are consuming protein, high levels of protein, you're already generating grams and grams of carbohydrates because of protein's innate ability in your muscles to create gluconeogenesis in your body. For those of you who want to know more about Dr. Gabrielle Lyon and Dr. David Perlmutter, I shall put their links below these podcast show notes for you guys, so you can check them out for yourselves. But just remember, cholesterol is good for you. The research I've just been saying for the past 20 minutes backs all of it up. Right from 1948 all the way to 2020. The research have stood for decades. Look after your health, guys. It's important now more than ever. And you need the protein, you need the healthy cholesterol, you need the fats, you need the B vitamins and the zinc and high levels of protein from this animal protein sources like eggs, fish, meat, butter. Don't be afraid of that. Your body needs it, your body thrives off it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and turning on. I'm going to sign off now. This is Bradley Abbott signing off with Butter, Spice, and Why Don't You Have a Slice? Thank you so much, guys. Peace out.